Good morning. Welcome to this week's In Conversation With. As you can see, we've got Umesh Samani, owner of Specialist Cars in Stoke. Today, we're just going to have a quick chat with Umesh about what he's done around coronavirus and what he's done to protect his business, and see if there's anything in this conversation that we can sort of piece together that might help support and guide you through this difficult time. Thanks, Umesh. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it's probably a busy time for you, a lot going on.
Very welcome, Paul. Thanks for inviting me on. Yeah, lots of things happening out there at the moment. Very challenging for us all, but we're all in it together, as I keep saying. So we just got to do the best we can under the circumstances, I think.
Absolutely. First things first. How are you? All right.
All things considered, Paul, I'm very well, to be honest with you. I'm very well, actually. I suppose to a certain degree taking it in my stride because there's not a lot more to do. No big sort of major hang-ups that I need to be doing stuff. I think I'm just taking it steady each day as it comes. A few plans of different things going on. But overall, good frame of mind and just being positive. That's the whole thing. Just trying to be positive. There is light at the end of the tunnel as far as I'm concerned. No problem at all with that.
That's all you can do, isn't it? Like you say. I mean, I spoke to Jim a couple of weeks ago, and he made a good point about not focusing on the negatives because that's the outcome you'll get. So positive frame of mind is crucial, isn't it? Really. How are your staff? Are they safe and well?
All staff, all pretty good. Yeah, all on furlough. Because I've got the Specialist Cars, which is pretty much myself on there, but then I've also got the Harris Motors, which is the workshop and MOT side. So I've got 4 staff on there. And again, I'm actually constantly in touch with them. We're messaging, we're ringing to make sure, they're all okay and just keeping updated with exactly what's going on. Although, it's all over the headlines that, we're on shut down a bit longer, but it's just keeping in touch with them just to make sure in reality that they are okay, because we were all under different pressures, different circumstances, and it's just nice to keep in touch rather than say, see you whenever I do and see you in 5-6 weeks, whatever it may be. But it's just, keeping in touch every week, just making sure they're all happy and just keeping them going, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's an element of sort of making people feel loved or valuable. Because obviously, when your business is up and running, those guys are the heart and soul, aren't they? Really, without them, you'd struggle. So it's making.
Yeah, as you say, the part of the family, aren't they? Really, they're not just employees; they are part of the family. Because, as you say, they are the business. Because without them, the doors are shut, aren't they? Really, So they're valuable at the end of the day. But they're not. I said they're not just employees; they're friends, the mates. Work colleagues, whichever, but the family, aren't they? Really, the part of the business family. Yeah.
Yeah. On that, what have you? I know obviously you've closed the sales side of things down, but have you closed the entire business, or are you keeping your workshop open for key workers or anything like that?
No, we made a decision, and to be honest with you, I already sort of decided that we're going to shut down on the Friday, but then. We had to shut down a little bit quicker than that. So when the Prime Minister made the announcement on the Tuesday night that we're shutting down, that was fine because I already made the decisions with that. Yeah. And bizarrely, actually, that day I'd picked up a service customer's car. It was an 84-year-old gentleman with a 40-mile plus round trip for a service and MOT. He's on his own, and he was panicking because he couldn't come in the week before because of social distancing, and he said, "Look, I need to get his service." I said, "Do not worry, I'll come out to you. I'll pick it up, drop it off, etc." So I announced that we need to close from Tuesday night, and I thought, I've got his car to my driveway here. What do I do? So I thought, we'll go back in on Wednesday anyway. Get it. Although I could have stayed open, just get the car back in, get it serviced, get it MOT'd, shut down the place properly, put all the cars away. I mean, if you've gone to forecourt now. Everything's all just jam-packed in the workshop, all out of the way. The place is totally empty outside, the forecourt's empty. And I got his car service, great MOT, and I got it back to him 8:30 that particular night, with there's the car, there's your key. And I waved to him from a fair distance to say, all sorts. You know what I mean? And he was just absolutely over the moon. And he even sent me an email the other day just to say, I went over and beyond, which isn't. It's not about that. It's just, I've dealt with that family. I think since trying to think 1991. You know what I mean? So it's one of my raving fans, as I call them. So it's not just a customer. Again, the family of the business, aren't they? Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and I know it's not a, it wasn't the reason you done all that for him, but it is going above and beyond, and it's priceless. If customers can find that dealer that is prepared to do that, then as you've rightly said, and it sounds like you've got a customer for life there, and it's that mentality of they're a part of the family, the business as well. They're just as important as the staff. So that it sounds great. It's such a good thing from yourself to actually go out and do. Even
it's all part. Yeah, it's all part of it. So again, just to protect the staff. I just said, we need to close anyway, and and I could have stayed open. I could still, but it's not about that really. It's a case of, the MOTs, the government made the thing about, the extended for the MOTs a few days after, which is great. So customers aren't panicking anymore. And, it just makes sure the staff are in the right place to protect as well as the customers. And we've just got, I believe, got to do the right thing, It's as simple as that, really. It's you got to go the whole way, haven't you, Paul?
Of course, yeah, all or nothing. So, you touched on earlier that you furloughed your staff, and that was one of my questions. That have you taken advantage of what really is a very generous furlough scheme by the government? So you've furloughed your staff. How did you find that process? Because what I'm seeing on sort of social media is there are a few questions around how easy is it to make the claims, etc. Did you find that okay? Did you find it easy enough to sort out, or is there any advice that you could give anybody that's potentially struggling with it?
I think the process is quite straightforward, to be honest. I mean, I've also been talking to my accountants who sort of helped me out with that sort of side of it as well. But the process is quite straightforward on that. The hub opened up on the Monday, so I've physically not gone on there myself. But from what I've seen out there, what people are telling me, the process has been quite straightforward. As long as you've got all the figures and information in front of you, it's straightforward to do that and claim back off the government. So, I think a lot of people are hoping that the money is going to be back in the account in the next 6-7 days, which obviously is a great thing, isn't it? Really? I mean, I think that the support from the government has been absolutely incredible. I think the speed that they've done it at, the support. I mean, they're not going to get everything perfect, are they? It's going to take a bit of time to get things sorted out.
Yeah.
But I think every time they find a bit of a hurdle, they seem to come up with another solution, don't they? So I think overall, it's incredible what they've done. Yeah.
I think the more and more I listen to the announcements and stuff that have come out, and it is as you've I'll just echo what you said. It's fantastic, really. The rallying of the troops almost. This sometimes we can feel, or I can feel, driving up and down the country as I do. It's sort of every man for himself, and certainly in this industry, the car industry, the automotive industry is very difficult to. It can be very cutthroat, and the responses on social media has been fantastic. Everybody is getting pulling together. Everyone's offering each other advice. It's free advice. Some of it might work, some of it might not, but everyone's pulling together. Everyone's giving each other some support and advice, and everyone's sort of putting an arm around each other and going that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this together. Now, when we come out of lockdown, I'm sure it'll go back to normal and everybody will be fighting for the same. But it's great to see that in times of need, everybody is rallying, and it's nice to. It's also gone that extra mile, to the top, or maybe it's filtered down from the top with the support the government are giving. Everybody's sort of maybe feeling a little bit warmer. Their hearts are a little bit warmer, and maybe want to support everybody else. So it's great. It is great. What businesses? What actions have you taken to sort of protect the business?
Right. I've taken the grant from the government, which again is a great support to to help the cash flow of the business. That's one thing for sure. I am still trying to sell cars, which I have done actually. So
I've
before anybody
seen that.
starts shouting, before everybody starts shouting, say you should be selling cars. I'm not physically selling cars. I'm not meeting customers at the showroom. I'm not delivering any cars at the moment. I'm following full guidelines. All I've done online board, So I've had customers. I've got 4 now. I've got 4 customers who've been on the website, they've watched the videos, happy with the descriptions, happy with the conversation we've had, and 4 of them have reserved cars, and I've got to wait for them until the lockdown is over. Simple as that, really. And I just said from the word go, I didn't know it was going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. And every single one has said, we fully understand, and there's no panic whatsoever. We will wait as and when, but we just want to secure the cars. We've seen the videos, we've seen the images, we've done the conversation. So, which is a great comfort to a certain degree, because at least I know as soon as we do get the doors open, I've got some pipeline deals there, as opposed to trying to open the doors and starting fresh. So that's again, but we've got to do all these things, and just keep going. The leads aren't sort of flying in, at the same rate. Well, you've got to make the most of every lead. I'm not sort of putting pressure on to buy anybody, and it's their choice to say, look, I really want that car, and I don't want to miss it. So simple as that, really. Yeah.
And again, I also spoke to Jim, as I've already mentioned a couple of times, a couple of weeks ago, and it was the same thing with him. He'd sold 4, was working on his 5th, and as long as you're clear about, that's absolutely fine. Yes, you can reserve the vehicle now and purchase it, but you cannot take delivery until it's completely and utterly safe to do so. I can't see any fault with that, and that's sort of the message that I've been trying to push, along with obviously Carsnip as well, sort of from the beginning, that the important. I won't say that, because that's one of my questions later on, and I don't want to lead your answer. But that message of, look, just because your business is closed, just because the doors are closed, doesn't mean the business is closed. Business can still be done, as long as it's done safely.
And that's the message that I'm sort of putting out there. The physical showroom's open, but as I've always sort of shouted, is like 24-hour, like everybody else, 24/7. The website's open, and I've also got the Click Engage product on there, which literally they can click and reserve 24/7. Which one of the guys did. We had a couple of emails backwards and forwards, a couple of questions on a car, and then literally I got the email to say, customers reserved this car, £250 deposit. So he decided at his own pace, like, you know what, I want to save that car, and he reserved it. So it is there. So I think we've got to be flexible with customers of how we deal with them. Some are happy to do that. The others have done bank transfers for deposits. It's whatever it suits the customer at their speed, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to jump ahead a few questions, because this leads nicely into from that. What are your thoughts around digital marketing or advertising versus stripping it all back and saving cash? So what would you 2 questions really. What would you advise, and what have you done? Have you completely stripped all advertising, or to save that cash and have that cash flow? Or would you say, look, actually staying visible is important, but obviously don't go crazy? What would your advice, and what have you done on that front?
Me personally, I've pretty much continued with most of my marketing advertising. I'm not sort of said slash the bills, stop all advertising, because I feel that's the wrong thing to do. Because if you cut the advertising, all of a sudden you're invisible, you've disappeared, nobody knows you're there. You need to still tell the world, look, I'm still here, I'm still in business, in a different format at the moment, like everybody else, the physical dealership, but I'm still in business, I'm still ongoing, and I will be opening as soon as we all can. So I think anybody who really just says cut every marketing advertising out altogether, I think would be a fool, to be honest with you. I really genuinely do, because you've got to have the presence there. You've got to still keep promoting the product, services, whatever you're doing, So even on the workshop side, I'm still sort of saying, we will be open. Again, sort of marketing to my own customers as well. I sent an email on Monday out to all my customers with a video explaining, what the situation is, what's going to happen, and ultimate sales customers as well. So it's just keeping them informed as well as just doing general marketing, a couple of classifieds as well. So you've got to keep the name there. Absolutely. Yeah. Got to keep the name there.
Good. So what would your advice be to businesses to protect the business long term? What would your advice be to do now to protect it, to have something to go back to, and be successful with, after the long term plan?
I think to be successful, I think they said they've got to keep marketing, but what I think the marketing message is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be a sell message, because I don't think anybody's going to fall for that message. I think it's all about still sending the message out that you're open, you're there to support the customers, be it sales, be it service, and just keep the name and the brand in front of people. I think that's what it's all about, rather than bang, 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 sell. Because nobody's going to want that hard sell message. It's just going to keep your name in front of people, that you're there for whenever they need you. I say for servicing, MOTs, repairs, selling, buying, whatever it may be. So it's just that subtle message of support, and that you're still there. Perfect.
I'm just going to sort of potentially throw a little curveball in there, but obviously you're one of the founders of the IMDA. How are your members doing? Are they come to you for advice? Are they good? Are they, is there any questions that's sort of particularly being brought to your attention that we could help with, not in a sales way, but in an advice kind of way? Or how are they all doing?
I think the association, is doing incredible work. We're all sort of pulling together all our resources to help the dealers, support them with information, as much as that we can, because at the end of the day, the government have got pages and pages and pages of guidelines and how to go about different things. But in reality, Paul, none of us have the time to read through all that, to absorb all the information. But more pointedly, what does actually affect me as an independent dealer, or somebody else? It's just trying to read through all the jargon, and what is important. Beat claims, beat processes or whatever. So we've sort of stripped down lots of the information, and we're feeding it in sort of bite-sized chunks to all the dealers. Like, this is what you need to be doing. Look at this bit here. These are the links that you ought to be reading about, and feeding all this information to help make their job easier, because it is a minefield trying to get out there. There's so many questions out there, Paul, from all the dealers, and the biggest question at the moment is about, number one, when are we going to start opening up, which none of us really know, do we? We're still down on to what the government decides. Is it going to be another 3 weeks? Is it going to be another 5 weeks? What's the new normal going to be like? It's not going to be the normal I think we've known in the past. It's going to be totally different. Other big thing that we're working on literally in the last few days, as the association, is when we do start opening up, what's the process going to be? How do we make sure all the staff are protected, as well as the customers? Will they be able to collect the cars from the showroom? How do you do the meet and greet as such? Deliveries. There's a big hurdle of questions. So we're just putting together processes that we think dealers should be sort of following through, because we can't just open up tomorrow morning, flip the doors open, and back to how it used to be. It's going to be
start shaking hands again and all that.
Absolutely, So it's going to be a total new process. So again, to help all the dealers, we're putting together this, a guide by stage process of what we call best practice. So this is what we recommend you ought to do, and even just bouncing ideas between ourselves. A few ideas where we can all forget how far we need to strip back a little bit, just wise, what I mean, make sure we're not spreading between ourselves or from customers to us, or us to customers, whichever way it may be. And then we've got issues about, can we still deliver cars? And how are you going to get the driver back if there's only one person? And there's all these questions still out there which are unanswered, and we're trying to put a guide together, trying to help people, because there's no definitive guide from the government to how to do these sort of things as such.
Yeah. It's going to, like I say, it's going to be a big learning curve personally. And again, this is purely my thoughts. I've not spoken really to anybody about it. And it's just drawing from my experience, when selling at dealership level. I think it's going to be completely different. I think certainly initially that you may have a state, you might have a setup, like when you go to supermarkets now and you've got like a member of staff sort of saying yes, you can come in and wait there, etc. I think initially there's going to be something like that. I don't think there'll be, as you say, just the normal. I think the normal that we know or used to know
Yes. Yeah.
is no longer. Even if just little subtle differences, that this time for people now at home, people being customers, research is showing across all sort of webinars and conference calls and social media content and things like that I've seen, is showing that people are doing more research online, obviously, because they can't go out to dealers. But the mentality is changing as well, and people will want to do more. So even things like training of your staff needs to be even better, because the customers were really knowledgeable before. They're going to do even more research now, so they're going to be even more knowledgeable. So the staff need to be more knowledgeable as well. So I think the norm is no longer the norm, and as you've rightly said, it will be completely different. But to try and set that out, try and predict that now is impossible. But you're doing right by saying, look, this is what we think. Potentially, this is what's going to happen. But everybody's adaptable, so everybody needs to be adaptable to say, actually, this step or this stage isn't quite right. Let's try and sort of jig it a little bit to make it fit the reality. The final question for you is, you guys have been really active. You guys being the IMDA have been really active with petitions around commission for salesmen, which I have signed. How's that going? Is that something that I've vaguely heard something in the news about sort of commissions and stuff, but how have you got any update on that? Any sort of guidance?
No, absolutely. Paul, that was a thing that we felt was what wasn't right, because there was so many salespeople, not just in the motor trade, all sorts of other businesses, other industries, who get paid commission. The commission is probably 3/4 of the wages, really. And it just seemed so unfair, the fact that it was based on basic wages. When you're on, let's say £12,000 a year, and you get 80% of that, there's so many vulnerable people out there, so many young families, or of all ages, but families there who were going to struggle so badly, and we just felt it was unfair. So we sort of started a petition. I think it got to, I think it's 27,000 signatures on that anyway. So I'm not sure if our efforts help, but we're doing the right thing. But overall, the government has changed the rules on that one. So commission is now included, within the furlough payment. So we think it's a great thing that the government have looked at it, and a lot of salespeople are happy there, because it's a disadvantage, isn't it, especially at times where everybody's struggling, and so we felt that was the right thing to do at the time. So hence we pushed it out.
Yeah, that's it's fantastic. I mean, when it all sort of kicked off, let's say when we all initially got put into lockdown, I sort of thought back 9 months ago when I was still selling cars, and I just thought, I was on £13,000, and you can't run a house and a family of four on 80% of that wage. So when I saw that the IMDA were pushing that through, I saw it on LinkedIn, but I just sat back and just thought that's such a good idea, and that really cemented for me that the thought process around what I said earlier about everybody sort of rallying and supporting each other. And again, another step towards from the government, another step of sheer genius, in my opinion. That level of support that they're giving to everybody, because it's not cheap. It's not going to be cheap.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing with it, Paul, is, the thing with the government is, that's something before, they're not going to get everything right, are they? Because there's so many different permutations with different industries, different businesses and so forth. And in the short time, they can't be expected to know exactly the ins and outs of every single structure out there. So, they're looking at some masses and saying, right, let's throw this deal in there. Doesn't suit everybody. And then they have to re-look at it again, because there's either petitions or somebody puts it to their head, so have you thought about this? Oh no, we haven't, we'll change that. So it's always ongoing anyway. But it's just nice to say, look, we believed in what we were doing out there at the time, to help. As you said, like yourself, if you're still in that sales position now, and that was announced, you'd be thinking, how do I, family, home, I can't manage, which also puts on extra pressure, mental pressure. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing, because it's all right, but like all of the brain's working overtime, and the consequences of that always, mental health is a big factor these days. And obviously with the motor, we've got the Ben Association, which is a great support there, helping anybody in the motor industry. But I'm sure they've been inundated with people with additional pressures from not just financial pressure, but obviously the fact that we're all sort of locked up and so forth. I can't do what we want to do. So we've got to just make sure there's less and less pressure. And if that petition helped so many people out there, which it did, I'm sure, it's got to be a good thing as far as we're concerned.
Absolutely. And that's a nice way to finish, because it's pulled us all the way back to the start when I asked you about how are your staff. And that's it. It's about making sure people are okay. And it's that mental health subject, really, that, everybody, this is going to affect everybody in different ways.
Yes.
I mean, my wife actually sort of said to me the other day, she said, how are you taking this so well? I mean, she's terrified. And I said, well, what's the point? My opinion is, why worry about it? We can't do anything about it in terms of making it stop. We can only do what we've been told by the government, i.e. stay at home. Why worry? But then in my household, there's two completely different ends of the spectrum. I'm not blasé about it, because I obviously I really appreciate it's very, very serious. But I also have the mentality of, why worry about something you can't change? You've got to do what we're doing. So let's just now stick together and talk. And that's the key. And the things that have come out of it for me is I've never spoken to my family as much in 4 or 5 weeks than I have for 2 years. So everybody's talking to each other, which is great. You've got all these things going off, like quizzes online, and Joe Wicks's PE and things like that. And it's about that community support. So if we can talk to our staff once a week, once to every 10 days or whatever, it doesn't have to be every day, but talk to each other, make sure that everybody's okay and supporting. And that's the idea behind this. If we can offer something to one person, great. Do you know what I mean? It's helped somebody. So look, I really, really appreciate your time today, Umesh. As I said at the start, I don't think it's an overly quiet period for you. But no, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your thoughts and your guidance, really, today. But thanks very much. Really.
Absolute pleasure, Paul. Thanks for the invite. And if dealers do want to join the association, the imda.co.uk, we're there to help anybody and everybody, or if we just want to have a chat, Paul. Simple as that, really. But thanks again, and please keep safe.
Perfect. And you. Thanks, Umesh.
Okay. Cheers.